Now let's have a good look at the outside and the inside of an 82 class. It's a late Sunday afternoon in 1995 as we look at 8255 and 8247 standing near the sanding facility at Werris Creek. We're looking at the number 2 end of 8255, and as we can see it looks very similar to a 90 class, except it's got a cab at both ends. We move to have a look at the side elevation of 8255, and as the camera freezes we can see the left hand entry door to the number 2 cab, the toilet door, the radiator air intakes with the 3 fans mounted on top, and the flexi coil tri-mount type bogie. As the camera continues panning right, we can see the air intake for the dynamic brake and also the air intake for the diesel engine combustion air and electrical cooling air, and the number 1 end cab right hand entry door. In the underframe area we can see the 10,000 litre fuel tank with the main air reservoir mounted at the top of it, and adjacent to it the battery box. As the camera pans further right we look towards 8247, which was written off in an accident at Beresford in late 1997. We return to have a look at the number 2 bogie and can see the left hand side composition tri-mount block pioneered by Alco a long while ago. Note also that there are no external brake cylinders on this bogie. Each of the 82 class bogies contains 3 D87 type traction motors. We then return to have a quick look at the brake cylinder arrangement on the bogie. We find the entry door on the number 2 cab is unlocked, so we take a look inside. The cab layout is almost identical to that of the 90 class. Looking at the driver's gauge and warning light panel, in the centre is the speedometer. On the upper left are warning lights for things like wheel slip, manual power control, etc., and an odometer, and below these are the rate of flow gauge and the main and equalising reservoir pressure gauges. To the right on the top are the vigilance control light and the load meter and a panel rheostat, while below them are the brake cylinder pressure gauge for number 1 and number 2 bogie and the brake pipe pressure gauge. On the desktop below them from left to right are the controls for the low speed loading, the red handle of the automatic train brake, the black handle of the independent brake, the horn, and hidden out of sight behind the throttle and dynamic brake control lever is the reverser. Please see the data and sequencing sheet provided with the DVD for more detail. The camera then continues to pan around the cab and we see the radio control panel. And as we come across the driver's panel, which we'll come back to, we see the refrigerator, the hot plate and the co-driver's switch panel. On this panel the timetable light is to the left, while the switches on the top are windscreen wiper, vigilant lamp, vigilance push button, and down below them the hot plate control, switches for jug, windscreen washer, heater, fan, elements A and B, reading light and timetable light. The horn stalk is to the right on the desk. The camera then pans up to look at the driver's overhead panel. As you can see, we're in the number 2 end cab. The functions on this panel seen overhead are, from left to right, a dynamic brake circuit breaker, switches for marker lights, gauge lights, number lights, vigilance white, blue or dark bright settings, step and ground lights, vestibule lights, engine room lights, demister, and controls for the air conditioning. The camera then takes a closer look around the driver's station, having a close-up look at some of the instrumentation we discussed before. Please see the data, sequencing and map provided with the DVD to get extra detail. As the camera pans right, we see the radio control panel, the engine stop button, the timetable light, and on this panel here are many switches for basic functions as well as the Speedmaster control. Again, please see the data sequencing and map sheet provided with the DVD for extra detail. On the rear of the cab vestibule there is a panel for applying and releasing the park brake on the locomotive, and also a separate panel for analysing faults shown up by the locomotive. In the number 1 in cab there's also a circuit breaker panel for protecting the circuits of the locomotive and for isolating or putting the locomotive online.